What's going on, guys? Dan from SSG bringing you another Edison format deck profile. This time I'm profiling my Skill Drain Zombie deck. It's a deck I've been working off and on for quite a while. Deck's pretty sweet. Just going to get right into it. We have the full 3 copies of Pyramid Turtle in a Skill Drain based zombie deck. We're going to be running all 3 copies. One of my favorite old school cards. Excellent card in this format. We have 2 copies of Giant Rat as well. Now, in the main deck, we're only actually going to be searching Pyramid Turtle with this card, and it's because we want to get those big beat sticks out of the deck and then establish control with back rows and hopefully a skill drain. So 2 copies of Giant Rat to make our game plan a little bit more linear and consistent. And now I am running 2 copies of Ryokoki, yes, 2. I just always find the need for the second one. Anytime I've played against a deck of this nature or been testing with this deck, the second one just always comes out of the deck. Like, it just, sometimes it's unfortunate to draw, but if you draw it, you still want that second one in the deck. And it's unfortunate that you might have to play 2 of these, and I can understand cutting it down to 1, but I just always like this card at 2 in these skill drain style decks, as this is kind of our main win condition. Being able to win with a big zombie off of a normal summon of a recruiter, and then, summoning it out of the deck off of Pyramid Turtle. Just really strong card, getting our 2400 beat stick into play, and then just controlling the game from there. Also, you want to be reborning this card with zombie effects as well. Still running 2 copies of Goblin Zombie, just best zombie cards, just very, very powerful. Of course, we have Mizuki and Plague Spreader, just the normal zombie engine here. Even though we're running Skill Drain, still 1 copy of Spirit Reaper. Reaper's just excellent. It's really good with Creature Swap, which we are running, being able to get value off of Pyramid Turtle, really stealing games like that. But card's really good. Since we have so many recruiters, I just want a lot of one-of zombies to go find out of the deck, because we have a lot of options to go grab. So Reaper's obviously one of the better ones. We then elect to play 1 Zombie Master. I'm actually not the biggest fan of this card in general, but like I said, when you're running the 3 recruiters of Pyramid Turtle as well as Giant Rats to go find them, I just like this card a lot. It just gives you the optionality, and I think having a discard outlet is very, very important as well. Searchable discard outlet in Zombie Master is very good. We're running the 1 copy of Sangan, just solid card. Goes through skill drain. Good card. Going to be able to search what you need. We have Dark Arm Dragon, of course. We're going to win games. Hopefully, skill drain isn't on the field when we drop this guy into play. And yeah, it's going to win some games for us. 1 copy of Caius. Speaking of skill drain not being into play, you're always not going to have skill drain, right? And I think it's really important to have a functional game plan without skill drain in play. And being able to drop a Caius every now and again is very strong. Of course, skill drain is a high priority target for many opponents, so you're not always going to have it in play. It's going to get destroyed, or you're not going to draw it. And Caius is just an excellent card as a one-of that you can really float your Goblin Zombies into to set up. And Caius, good card. 2 copies of Malicious. I like Malicious quite a bit in these skill drain style zombie decks. De-skill zombies, if that rings a bell for any of you old school players back in the day. But I like this card quite a bit. I think you can easily search the Zombie Master to discard it, and it's going to be able to set up some really amazing plays with Plague Spreader Zombie and such. Also running 1 copy of Krebons. I like this quite a bit. I think just 1 Krebons, 1 Teleport has just been overperforming for me. Excellent little small package that doesn't really require much of you. Drawing the Krebons is not bad. People a lot of times complaining about that. It's really not bad. I mean, there's always a way to use it, whether it be by brain control or having a floating Goblin Zombie. So card's really good, and then you have the high upside of drawing Teleport as well. On to spells. 2 copies of Book of Life, really strong card. You're going to be able to recur your 2400 Ryokoki, which is very, very strong. Being able to just have your win condition out of your graveyard while impacting the opponent's grave. It means you're going to be impacting them on so many different ways by removing their graveyard, having skill drain in play, various trap cards interacting, and just beating them down while doing all this. 2 Book of Life to really facilitate those big monsters coming back in out of the deck over and over again. 2 copies of Creature Swap. Every card just works with this in our deck. I mean, you have the 2 Goblin Zombies, of course the 5 Recruiters and Giant Rat, as well as the 3 copies of Pyramid Turtle. You also have Sangan. Even giving them Mizuki isn't really that bad. So, card's really good. It's just going to do what it's going to do. And of course, you have the big Reaper play with it. But a lot of times I just go straight for Ryokoki. Just have two monsters at play, their monster and the Koki. Just completely clock them, set a skill drain or some back row behind it, and the game is usually over. So I do like the two skill creature swaps. Allure of Darkness, standard for consistency and a dark deck. One copy of Brain Control gets us our combos with our tuners. One copy of Foolish Burial. I think these kind of skill drain, slower based decks with like a lot of trap cards want this card in general. Having Malicious as a little extra power spike in your deck, even though you're focused on being more of a control deck, is really good. And having access to Foolish Burial for that reason, whether it be Mizuki, Plague, Malicious, you still want fast cards in your deck that give you that combo option. So I do like the Foolish Burial, and same goes for Teleport. Just getting that extra power spike in a control deck is very powerful, and this card has amazing upside. And onto traps, of course. The deck based around 2 copies of Skill Drain. Excellent card. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I have it in play with a level 8 Synchro or with like a 2400 monster and Ryokoki, card just seems unbeatable. Very, very powerful. And whenever my opponent has those cards in play next to a Skill Drain, it's just really, really strong. And I think the card's just really, really strong, and you should build a deck that can be functional with while playing this card. You know, a lot of decks like the Gemini beat decks and things like that play Skill Drain, they end up just having like 1900 vanillas and stuff like that. This deck does so much more than that. Being able to have a plan that can enable Skill Drain while also just getting your recruiters growing, getting Ryokoki out of the deck, setting up synchro plays on the following turn. Having a functional game plan while this card is in play is very, very important for the longevity of just having this card in play. Being able to gain incremental advantage over your opponent while this card is in play is very powerful, and this deck just does a great job of doing that, so I do like that quite a bit. 2 copy of Bottomless, just standard removal here. Of course, 2 copies of Deep Prison as well. I would like to go up to 3, but space is a little tight as we are a 41 card deck. We have 1 copy of Wing Blast. Now, the only 2 discard outlets for Malicious are the Wing Blast as well as the Zombie Master, but the Zombie Master is searchable, which is very good, and we can also Foolish Burial the Malicious as well. So I would like to try and go up to 2 on this. Of course, you can also unbrick your Ryokokis and get them in the graveyard for your Book of Lives, but I think 1 Wing Blast is fine. I would like to add a second, so maybe cut another one of these one-of traps that I'm about to go through for it, but overall, I do like the 1 Wing Blast. It has been good for me. We have the 1 copy Mirror Force, 1 Torrential, the Power Spike of Return from a Different Dimension, very, very powerful card. Even though you're a controlling deck, you're still going to be able to make a bunch of plays with that. I then have 1 Solemn Judgment and 1 Starlight Road. These cards kind of go hand in hand when you're running a card like Skill Drain because you need to protect it. I wanted to fit a Dark Bribe, couldn't quite do it as well because I do like that sort of like Trinity setup, 1 of each for the versatility. But these 2 will do enough work, and yeah, just great cards of protecting what you need to get, and having that Stardust in play with Skill Drain is unbelievable. Also electing to run 1 copy of Royal Oppression. This deck can run 2 Royal Oppression if you want to. You know, you can cut down the number of Book of Lives, things like that. Your recruiters still just go off, when this card is face up, so you can go and grab your Ryokoki and just start beating down. And this card is just really powerful in combination with Skill Drain as well. Your opponent just can't play the game. Really strong way to establish Ryokoki as well. It's just Reborn, Book of Life Reborn it, get rid of like some sort of counterplay that they would have in the graveyard, something like a Treeborn Frog, and then just flip Oppression, and it's just like they have a really hard time coming back. No card like Miracle Fusion is gonna be able to out the Koki for you. So 1 Oppression. And then, of course, would not be an SSG profile without the 1 copy of Trap Dust Shoot. Of course, we're running a 41-card deck, but that doesn't really matter. 40, 41, who really cares? Because you have Trap Dust Shoot in your deck, and you're going to open it every single time, turn 1, and you're going to destroy your opponent every time. Just make sure you draw it going first. Next, we have the extra deck. Quick rundown of the extra deck. Nothing too crazy here. We have Catastor, Android, Bryonic, Goyo. We then have the Revive King Hades as well as the Doom Kaiser Dragon. I was almost not going to play Doom Kaiser, but I think this deck is you kind of need some extra like way to push in this deck. You know, you are kind of a controlling zombie deck, and being able to kind of have like a mirror breaker in the, you know, in the mirror is like really strong, and being able to actually kill the opponent when your deck is supposed to be a little bit slower than like the Diva zombie decks is really powerful, and I think very important. So I did run both of those. We have Black Rose Dragon, 2 copies of Stardust Dragon. We're going to be making this one quite a bit with Skill Drain in our deck. We also have Colossal Fighter, very strong Skill Drain. Red Dragon Archfiend, Thought Ruler Archfiend, Dark End Dragon, because we can make it. Mistworm doesn't come up too often, but very good. And, of course, we have the Chimera Tech for the Cyber Dragon in the sideboard. Onto the sideboard, 2 copies of Cyber Dragon, really good with Skill Drain, really good at just beating down. Card's excellent, it's going to do a lot for us as well. It's just take away those machine monsters. 2 copies of Doom Caliber Knight. I think there are versions of this deck you can run Doom Caliber in the main. I actually like it quite a bit in these style of decks with Skill Drain, with Oppression, as well as these zombie cards. I think those style of decks are really good. Even like I've seen like these Welladad lists that run 1 to 2 copies of Doom Caliber in the main. I think it's quite good. I think this is kind of like the perfect home for it. I elected for it in the sideboard. I think it's quite good there as well. So 2 copies of Doom Caliber. We have 2 copies of Fossil Dyna. I've been liking Fossil a lot in zombies in the sideboard. I just think like it can sometimes be a little bit hard, especially in the more controlling zombie decks, to react to like a big board once it's already in play and they have some back rows behind it. A lot of times you can just set this, they think it's a recruiter, and then you're suddenly back in the game. This card's pretty strong. I like it quite a bit. And 2 Fossils has been doing work for me in my zombie sideboards. Sort of related to Fossil, 1 copy of DD Crow. I've only been electing for 1 Crow when I'm running the 2 Fossils in these zombie sideboards, because I think Crow is sort of a preventative card that sort of stops all this nonsense from happening, stops the big boards from happening, and Fossil is really like letting your opponent do it and then set the Fossil, or like preemptively set the Fossil when your opponent thinks you're gonna, when you think that your opponent's gonna go off and then destroy all their monsters. So 1 DD Crow sort of offsetting the 2 Fossil Dynas. I'm then running 1 copy of Grand Mole. It's searchable via the 2 copies of Giant Rat that we play, so I like having access to 3 copies after game 1. So in the sideboard of games, this card can just run away with games, especially if you're on the play. Like, I've just won so many games in Edison format with this card and a beat stick. And of course, when we have recruiters in our deck going and fetching Ryokoki, this card is really going to just bounce random stuff that's face down and just completely blow your opponent out of the game, and Koki's just going to get in there and win. So card's just really good for us in this deck. Some destruction here in the side, MST, and we have Heavy Storm, of course. Just didn't want him in the main. Not too many problematic cards. We can play through most floodgates, so just these in the sideboard. 2 copies of Deck Devi. I'm still kind of testing this one out. I think that you really only want to bring it in against decks that really get hurt by it, because we're not always going to have like a consistent way to summon the Koki, right? We of course have like the recruiters to go find it, and they're like, we have roundabout ways of getting there, but a lot of the times, like when you're behind in tempo, and then like you have to like say crash your recruiter and then like flip this card up, that's not really going to be that great. It's going to be more negative tempo, and if they already have like a Synchro monster in play or something like that, it's going to be really bad for us. But I think the decks that this card just crushes, you just want it, because you do have access to the Koki to sacrifice for this card, and it's going to be like pretty solid. It's going to be able to be like an I win type of card, and that's why it's in the sideboard. We then have the 3rd copy of D-Prison in the side. Another copy of Starlight Road, just against the decks that can, Icarus Attack, Geyserus, things like that, Judgment Dragon. And then also running the 2nd copy of Royal Oppression, because Oppression's just a really good card. And like I said, you could main deck it if you wanted, but I like it in the second one in the side. 1 in the main, 1 in the side is quite good, I think. So that is about it, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the deck in the comments section below. I think that this deck is pretty sweet. It's similar to a deck I used to play quite a bit back in the day. Being able to just skill drain and beat down Ryokoki is a thing that I love to do, and it's something that I've been doing for many years. Definitely a deck similar that I used to play is skill drain, de-skill zombies. Comment if you remember that deck title. I think that's an OG one, but that is about it, guys. So without further ado, this is Dan V from SSG signing out.